Sex ed is important.
Yes. Like, that's another thing. You know, within all throughout my Christian walk, like, never have they talked about sex.
Yeah.
Anything like that. And so it's just kind of like, you know, that would probably be great for them to start discussing with, like, maybe slightly older or whatever, but teenagers on, I don't know. From if that's something you're so concerned about, like, why aren't you discussing it?
Literally, like, whenever they start dividing you, like, girls, you need to go over here and hear these videos. Like, I still remember those videos from, like, elementary, middle school,
remember
whatever.
those, yeah.
And then the boys go this way. It's like, that's probably when you should start talking about that kind of stuff.
And more than just one awkward 1 hour thing. Like, it needs to almost be like a class.
Yeah.
Or every year at least.
This American Life had like one little segment where they talked about how there was like a college seminar where they would talk. It was like, you know, a few day course or whatever, but they had like an expert talk about sex and consent and all that stuff. And these were like grown ass men being like, but wait, and they were just like asking questions about consent that they should have known
The men
before they were sexually active.
Yikes.
And there's like genuinely like valid questions. They weren't stupid questions.
It's also upsetting to me how, like, you know, there's the whole thing where, like, guy culture, it's like, yo, you know, you got taken advantage of by an older woman. Yo, that's rad. They don't.
They wouldn't word it that way, but
I know. I made it very clean.
You got lucky with the teacher, dude. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, but like, what if that dude didn't think it was that awesome? Also, that's predatory and illegal. So it's bad. But like, it's kind of like, all guys.
But every kid in the class thought that teacher was hot.
Yeah, so you're cool. You have a status symbol, and that makes them think, okay, well, you know, I didn't like it, but it happened to me. So then, but it's okay. So then I'm going to grow up to think that consent doesn't matter anyway because it didn't matter to me.
Let's add a layer of complexity to that. He did like it. He did enjoy it.
Still wrong if it's if he's underage.
And like nuance. There's like it, even if like, so I'm gonna flip this and make me look bad,
okay.
But I'll die on this hill because my wife is 5 years older than me.
Okay, I was like, where are you going with this? What is happening?
Sable's like, what hill?
If it did happen, and he did enjoy it, and it was totally fine. There was nothing predatory about it necessarily. What happens when the rest of society finds out and has a problem with it? Because, again, another Chris Ryan quote, their studies show that, like, a lot of times the trauma in kids doesn't happen when the event happens. The trauma happens in the reaction that the parents and community have surrounding it. And so if it's like, hey, my Uncle Ted did some stuff and I feel weird. And it's, if as a parent you go, what? Oh my gosh, how could be? Uncle Ted's gonna go to jail. That was very bad what he did, blah, blah, blah. That's when the trauma begins. Instead, if you go, oh, okay, well, we'll talk to your Uncle Ted. Just like, stay away from him. He's a weird dude. Like, okay, whatever.
But they're still saying the same thing, just different ways of responding.
They're not encouraging that this thing was good, but like when you freak out about it, that's when the trauma begins.
Oh, and that's similar to just, you know, when a kid falls down and hits their head.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're actually probably okay, like, unless it's like really bad. But, you know, they kind of sit up and they make, as soon as they make eye contact with you, if you look the least bit concerned, they'll start crying and freaking out because you're concerned. It's similar. Yeah.
But again, I'm just going to put this
that
out
is
there
very,
and people can hate me about it, but
a nuanced thing.
Humans, teenagers of sexual age that are able to give consent.
Yes.
Should be allowed to do so. And that's okay.
I mean, it gets blurry and bad
Yes, it does.
Because I do believe, obviously, you can have it be problematic when it's two consenting people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is kind of like, I don't have enough knowledge or experience in that territory to like say one way or the other. I'm clearly just like, if it's like a no consensual thing, that's obviously wrong.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that
I get what you're saying though.
Situations have nuance and perspective and things, and to just unanimously say that like, if you are under 18, you cannot have sex. And that's just a lie. Teenagers have sex all the time.
I know. I think it comes from the place of if it's someone older versus someone younger, it's like not necessarily when it is. It's like the power dynamic thing is what it always comes back to.
But we're also putting a lot of power over that one line of like, the guy was 18 and she was 17. And it's like, that's not like.
And I don't think that's what people would have a problem with.
No, I know. But like.
Right.
When we unilaterally set that line and be like, no, then we're creating trauma where there isn't any need for there to be.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, because this is all reminding me of like a story that I'm finding out about. I don't know if you are up to date about it or not, about Davi, what's his face? He's a YouTuber. Blair mentioned him. He's like,
oh, I saw her video, but I have not watched it yet.
Okay.
But yeah.
Because Chris Hansen's now also covering him.
Oh, geez.
So, you know, it's bad.
That's his next thing. He's coming after all you YouTubers.
For real, though. Davi Fantasy, I think.
Yeah,
something like that.
The Davi part sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing it and Blair basically was like, oh, it's worse than Onision. And you're like, oh, geez.
A little... I don't know if it's worse than Onision. Onision's like a whole other like entity about it.
Explain the thing.
Okay. But no, so him bringing up about like the trauma thing with Davi, like she was mentioning how the one girl that spoke out, like the trauma happened like right away because the girl was like literally forced to do stuff like right then and there, and she knew it was bad.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't remember if the girl went back and, like, actually told her mom, or maybe she did afterwards, like, after everything. But it was still, like, really traumatic because she knew it was bad. It wasn't, like, the mom responding. It was, like, she knew. So it's...
Yeah. And I think kind of the situation, like, Santiago's mentioning is, like, that really gray area where it is kind of nuanced, where it's like, okay... so-and-so's 16 dating a college student that's clearly an adult, but they're two consensual people in a relationship. But it's like that whole like trying to draw the fine line can be abused by the family if they don't want this person to be like with their daughter or whatever.
Right.
So it can be kind of like, I can understand like why that could be, you need to have a conversation about it. But yeah, I mean, I think it also just has a lot to do with, oh, you know, you're an adult at 18, so they think you finally reached, but you don't really reach your mental maturity till 25.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, maybe we should start saying you're an adult at 25.
Definitely.
And sometimes guys don't reach it until they're 35. And so
100%.
there is a lot of, I think, in that kind of area that it can be kind of like problematic.
Right.
Or just... you have to like talk about it almost case to case. And obviously there's certain areas where it's not case to case. If it's like a 12-year-old, even up to like, you know, 14, 15, 16-year-old, it can be rough because they are still really young, going through puberty changes. They're more likely to agree to someone that's in power and it'll feel like it's consensual, but maybe it's not. So it's kind of like, I think that's where people have that problem with it.
Because literally what you just said is like what that girl went through. She's like, well, like with this guy, like, you know, he's obviously asking me to do stuff for him. And like...
the whole show's off the rails now. How dare I let it go?
Go ahead. My God.
Yeah, we just totally changed topic. No, I'm kidding.
You're fine.
We stayed on topic.
But like the girl felt bad for like not doing it. And then like he acted weird with her afterwards and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it is like she... kind of consented, but only because she felt pressured to in a way.
Also tying it back to cults, polygamists.
Yeah.
They're in this mindset within their religion that this 40-year-old man can marry a 14-year-old woman. And she's consenting and he's consenting clearly. But does that make it right?
No, it's not informed consent.
Right. Yeah. So but they would say it would be. They would claim it would be.
Right, they would.
Yeah. So that's where you get into like he said, she said almost. Or like, okay, are you part of a cult or not? Or what's the age disparity? Or
our
when did
justice
the disparity happen?
Can't determine intent, even though it's based upon it.
Rip.
Yay.
I mean, like, just fascinating, like psychologically, but also sad.
Right. But, and that's why like a show like Psychopaths exists, because it's like, no, we do know your brain and you're gonna
it's like, but you
be bad anyways.
You literally can't, because the ones that are gonna be bad anyways are like, there's so much more depth to a human there than black or white.
But I mean, and then the other nuance is that like we don't even know our own intent. So, but
that can be like rabbit hole too. When you start to doubt your own intent, you're like, wait, and then you're like, wait, am I doubting it because my intentions are good, or am I doubting it because whatever those intentions are for about whatever?
Right.
You know, like if you do something nice for someone, you're like, why did I do that for them though? Was it because I wanted them to like me? Was it because I genuinely care about them? I fall down that path all the time. And then sometimes I just have to like, okay, I can't even think about it anymore. Whatever.
Yeah.
But it, you know, because a lot of times people will do a lot of good things but maybe their intentions aren't good. But does it still make the thing good? If the intentions aren't good? That's what I mean by rabbit hole.
You want to go down the moral philosophy? Because I will.
Like, let's dip our toes in it a little bit.
Right. I mean, I've already kind of decided that like this is just going to be a double podcast.
You could just like cut it in a lot of places, honestly. Yeah.
But I mean, there's 3 ways that you can judge ethics. And so there's intention, where you judge from the perspective of the person doing the action. And so I intend for this to be good. The example that we had in a moral philosophy class was like, a man inherits a lot of money from a rich uncle or something who passed away. And he wants to donate a whole bunch of money to this charity. And so he intends to help starving children or whatever the charity is by giving them money. And let's say that charity is actually a embezzlement ring, and it actually ends up having like human trafficking.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so
he indirectly helped human trafficking, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So with the perspective of intention, he intended to donate to help kids. Even though it didn't help kids, it hurt kids.
Yeah.
His intention was to help. Therefore, good. Then there's action-based, which is whether or not he intended to do the human trafficking. He gave money to charity. Therefore, good action. So the only thing that matters is the action. And so giving money to charity, helping others, whatever that might be, regardless of if you're doing it because you want to feel good about yourself or you want other people to look at you that like, oh, look, what a nice and caring person. Action, good, therefore good. That's that perspective. And then there's third perspective, which is consequentialist.
And that's like what happens from your actions. Yeah.
And so man does intend to give to charity and help kids, but that money ended up going to human trafficking. Therefore, you for donating to this charity are bad.
Oh, that's rough.
So
that also, like, that kind of morality is kind of spoken of in The Good Place.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Like, I know we keep bringing it up, but like they talk about ethics through it a lot. In fact, I think that was like one of the main points. The director and Kristen Bale, actually. Bell, not Bale. Not the
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale is a different person. Kristen Bell is
yeah.
I never realized how similar.
You want to build a snowman?
Oh my God. I never realized how similar their names were.
Right.
Anyway.
But like, I guess because she talked about it on Vanity Fair's like YouTube channel about like that process, because she like went through all her like highlights.
Roles, yeah.
So he had talked to her about it, and she was really excited about like
That's probably her most successful show, probably, right?
that.
Veronica Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Hello Kitty. We have a Marnie, which that's the bell that y'all keep hearing.
If you can hear it, I doubt it.
There might
If
be
you can't, then there's a bell there.
There is a bell.
It's a cat.
But yeah, that's kind of the really nice thing about that show. It really does make you think, and it's those three things kind of are brought up at one point in the show. I think it's like in season 3 or something.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like,
That makes me want to watch it more.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's on Netflix.
Yes.
I think I've seen it on Netflix. Need to watch it before it's taken off.
It might stay on.
Everything else.
Right. It doesn't have the last season on there, unfortunately. So we're just like, dang it.
Why?
I don't know. I think it just finished.
Netflix is
Oh, well, they hoard stuff until they can get it all up. And like that's what they do with anime and stuff. So if a Netflix gets an anime, we see it like a season later because they just want to put it all up at once. So if it's airing week to week, they wait for it to like, that's probably why.
Ow.
Hulu tends to
Pause.
put stuff immediately.
Week to week. Yeah.
Madam.
So it's almost like having a cable show.
Yeah.
Having a cable.
Right. And cable.
And cable. A single one.
It is an Ethernet cable.
I have one. It's 100 feet long. Anybody needs it.
Ow. Jerk.
Was that so that you could... No, I shouldn't say things about work.
Yes. But it turns out I didn't need it. So now I just have it.
Yeah.
If anybody needs it, please use it.
Yeah.
I feel that.
So
I mean, going back to the like sex ed thing, I think that one, I bring up the more nuanced situation just because it's like we're not even capable of having a conversation at that point because we're not capable of having just normal conversations about sex. And so it's like, it's so hard to even talk about like, if a young adult does have sex with his teacher, like what?
I mean, if I'm going to give you like a flat answer, I'd say that's still wrong. That's probably not like that's like a, just based on, like I kind of talked about it briefly with Sable, but like the power dynamic thing, but also the, like, you're in a position of power in a way being a teacher, not just your age. And so this person, that's not what you're there for them. You're there to be their teacher and kind of send them off. You know, it's one thing if they come back into it, maybe after they've been like,
Well, I mean, I can throw in a whole bunch of like moral philosophy thought experiments at you and like, oh, look, in this situation, it does work. In this situation, it doesn't work. And that's sort of the point is to like, there are different situations.
Yeah. It's different when it's like, this is a teacher and a student and the teacher's like 21 and the student's 18.
Yeah.
Or like, this is, you know, a boyfriend, girlfriend that are 18, like 17 and 16 or 18 and 16 or something.
Right.
Yeah. Those nuances are definitely there.
My wife is 5 years older than me.
Well, right. You guys are like a nuance in a way. And so it's also like, you know, people meet each other way later and they'll be way like 10 years apart.
Right.
But since they met each other later in life, everyone's like, oh, that's fine. But it's like, wait, but like, what would you say if they met each other earlier?
Right.
So,
well, I mean,
complicated.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, so like on experience, like when we met, like obviously we kept it very quiet because like, yeah, I was 5 years older and like you were definitely underage when I met you. But like from the get-go, we were like, we're not doing anything to get us in trouble. And we've always kept that like up to our marriage. Like we always set boundaries no matter what.
All of us knew you were dating and you still didn't say anything. But
I know.
You made a big reveal and then we were all like, oh yeah, we know.
Right.
But we didn't even think anything of it. So.
But we got y'all with the engagement.
You did. You did. I didn't know.
No.
And I lived with her. Oh gosh, I just hit the mic. I'm sorry.
But like, I remember our friend from Vintage Stock, like his wife was also older than him.
Yeah.
Nathan?
I think in ways like, if there's a pretty big disparity,
Yeah.
it should happen when you're later in life.
Yeah.
I think that's obvious. You know, if you're 10 years apart, that's like you're a 10-year-old and they're 20-year-old.
Yeah.
But obviously when you're like, oh, they're a 20-year-old, they're a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Like, but I do think there do need to be boundaries in that way, obviously. But it's also like the power dynamic thing.
Time is not linear.
Yes.
I have a tendency to speak in backwards phrases. I'm saying the end goal here.
Okay.
Time is not linear. What it takes for just a human to develop into an adult is a fixed set of time. At least like societally. So it's like it takes 18 years for you to be considered an adult. But there are people who go back to college when they're like 40. And that 18-year-old going into college can be in the same classes with that 40-year-old, and they are in the same place.
In college, but not in life.
College, but also in knowledge in their college major, for example.
Right.
Yes. And so,
but we're kind of more hinting at like high school and under that.
well, no, I know, but I'm using that as an example to say time is not linear.
Yeah.
Right.
You can be starting. Well, and it's also just goes back to like, there shouldn't be a timeline for anybody or anything. Like you can start at various points in your life in different ways.
Right.
Because it gets problematic when people are like, well, you have to graduate here and then you got to do this for 4 years, 5 years, and then you get married, have kids, do this, do that, retire. But like, that's not realistic. Everyone's timeline's different. And so I'd agree with you in that way. Like in that way, it's not linear based on.
You ever ask an 18-year-old where they'll be in 5 years?
Oh, man.
You ever ask yourself where you're going to be in 5 years?
Right.
I remember Clothier asking us, like, seniors, like, oh, where do you think you're going to be in 5 to 10 years? And like, I kind of vaguely remember what I said, and I'm like, I'm not there.
Yeah, no. And it's an interesting question to ask, and I almost wish it was asked in a way that we could bury it in a time capsule and come back to. Like, that would be fascinating.
Yeah.
I also just had this thought, like, I think in a lot of ways, right, that's true. I think in a lot of ways, you know, with this whole age disparity thing, they make it kind of the worst possible scenario of it is a child gets taken advantage of. And so to avoid that ever happening, they got to put like a hard and fast rule. That's kind of what I think it comes down to. Well, and if that's the case, I'd rather them do that than.
Right. Well, it's like kind of like protecting that kid in a way of like keeping them as pure as long as possible, because like by now we're all like, no, like being an adult sucks in a way. The whole like, you know, like the cliche dad in movies is like, I got to protect my daughter. You know, she has to be a virgin, like all like until she's like 30 or whatever.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like that whole thing. I like, yes, there's a point where it's like, okay, like she is her own person, but like I say if you're definitely under the age of 18, it's like, yeah, I would probably be like, if they tried and did anything, it's like, that's kind of bad. Well, especially with like someone who is older, like an actual adult.
Right.
The culture in Scandinavian countries is, instead of like teenagers sneaking around and like having sex at parties or whatever, what the culture is there is like they'll have the kid that they're dating over for dinner and they'll like get to know them and stuff and be like, well, you can like stay at our house tonight, use protection.
Interesting.
They're like very open about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas here, it's kind of like...
It's like the gun's out on the table and you don't meet the parents for months. And,
right.
Yeah.
Or it's just like really awkward and embarrassing.
Right.
At the same time.
It probably is just like they're approaching it like, well, if we get it all out there, it won't be awkward and embarrassing.
That,
maybe.
And the even worse part, which is just like, if we don't talk about it, then they're going to be hiding. They're going to be having sex in some foreign place. We don't know where they are. They're staying out late. Don't know if they have condoms or whatever, or if something happens. Like,
and there's been a lot of missing persons, a lot of bad,
and instead it's like
from people hiding it. Yeah,
I'll have my teenager in my house. I know the kid because I just had dinner with them. I know they have protection. I told them to use protection.
Ultimately, you can't control if they do it or not.
Sure,
but, right.
yeah. But it's like, but you can control that a little bit. Like, the odds are a little bit more in your favor if they're in your house and you told them to do so, and you have like a drawer full of condoms.
Maybe it's
rather than like
the whole point.
they're out at a party or something.
Is reverse psychology, and they're like, well, we're just gonna, it's kind of don't do it. Oh, they're gonna want to do it, but they're like, oh yeah, go for it. They're like, no. So they're like, no, I'm good. Not yet, at least. What?
Have you ever been a teenage boy?
No, I haven't actually. How is it?
Not doing it is not an option.
I know. Oh, God. I know. I'm just putting that out there. Like we said earlier, the parents talking about it and putting it out there makes it less uncomfortable for them and their kids.
Yeah.
Or it might make it more uncomfortable for their kids in a way that they're like, well, maybe I'm not ready yet with this person. Or maybe I'm not ready yet based on my parents bringing it up.
Yeah.
Could have a lot of effects behind it.
Right. And, the parents can be the gatekeeper in that sense too. And it's like, valedictorian 17-year-old daughter is like, yeah, I have like straight A's in school and stuff. And this is my boyfriend, Todd. He plays video games all day
like
and
a loser.
Is failing all of his classes.
Right.
And I'm helping him with all his homework. And it's like, try again.
Right.
roll the dice, get a different character.
I mean, in a lot of ways, they probably also, there's a lot of excitement to hiding it. And so they may even, in a culture where it's so accepted and so talked about, it may still be hidden from families, parents, whatever, because it's like exciting for them, or it's like they still feel like it's taboo or whatever. So
it's still better than here, where it's just like,
regardless, there does need to be
not a thing.
There should be more just sex ed in general, like when you're younger, for sure.
Because then you have grown ass men in a class about consent asking about condoms.
Ugh. Or like, well, this girl was drunk one time and she said no, but like,
what if we're both drunk?
I think that meant yes. I heard it as yes.
Her eyes were saying yes.
Her eyes were saying yes. Yeah, she just playing hard to get, right? And it's like, no, fam.
Or everything that comes out of a woman's mouth, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. So she really wanted me. You should have seen her there that night. Yeah.
I mean, that is the worst of it. But even just like...
There is nuance to the
even well-intentioned
consent.
Dudes who are like, all right, so can't give consent if she's drunk. But what if we're both drunk? And like, that's a genuine question.
That doesn't... Do people really think that that's a genuine... Okay, now it's okay because I'm also impaired mentally and making decisions.
Well, no, but it is...
They try and use that as their defense.
No,
well, I was drunk, so I don't know.
Not as a defense, but as just like, what about this situation? Ugh. Because humans do get drunk together.
Right.
Or they're drugged.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times a girl can be doing everything she wants to do and her drink gets spiked.
A well-intentioned drunk dude who didn't drug the girl just wants to know, is this all right? Should we have sex?
No. No.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's like they didn't know the answer to that question. And they should have known the answer to that question before they got into that situation.
Yeah.
And they didn't have that conversation.
There should be a whole college seminar on consent every week.
Have that conversation at age 14, 16, whatever. And now they're having it at age 20 when the situation has already come and gone and they made the wrong decision.
Can there also just be like a course on mind games and how that's bad? Because so like, for example, I was watching He's Just Not That Into You recently. And it's one of my favorite movies because it really just puts it out there. Like how a lot of times girls are told, oh, he's picking on you. He really likes you. He's got a crush on you. And so girls grow up thinking, oh, this guy's treating me like shit. Then he must like me because it's attention. And it's like, oh, I'm playing hard to get. When in reality, they're either bad boys behavior. Or they're just bad people, or they don't like you. Like that's just how they're acting towards you. It's kind of the whole, oh, well, he was like, you know, and then girls kind of try to do the same thing where they're like, well, I'm going to play hard to get. And it's like, no, maybe some guys like that, but you just have to just be yourself. Like you don't have to put on an act, do a certain thing just to try and get it to work. Cause honestly, like you want them to like you for who you are. Like, or especially if you're initiating something with somebody, like it was a really eye-opening thing. Because it is like, oh, he's just giving you attention.
This guy, I just looked it up. Neil Strauss wrote a book called The Game.
That sounds familiar.
And it literally just lays out, like, if you follow these rules, you can get laid. This is how people play this game.
Yeah, is this like one of those like alpha male like how-tos, whatever?
Or is it like a
yes and no?
Yeah, I think it's more like he's just witnessed it, so now he's pointing it out to show how ridiculous it is. Probably,
but both.
But like he's legitimately like, hey, here you go, guys.
Neil Strauss is not a douchebag.
Okay.
But douchebags read that book
and think and
use it effectively.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good point. So like can't like neutralizes itself out almost.
Depends on where you're judging the morality. Call back. Okay. But
girls can read that book and avoid it.
Yeah.
Sure. There we go.
Yeah. But like it is just like an analysis of, hey, this is what I've noticed works, and put it to the test, and it does. Here's the information.
Yeah. Social experiment.
Right.
Tell me how it goes.
So, I mean,
what are some of the things, if you can recall anything?
I don't remember. Like, I think that's where like necking comes from.
Oh, ew.
Which is like basically saying, like pointing out a girl's insecurities, like nonchalantly, to kind of, in a way, establish a power dynamic of like, I'm not interested in you, and by showing that, you're more interested in me.
Because now it's like, oh, well, I got to prove myself to him as to why he should be interested in me, which is messed up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's probably accurate, like very accurate.
Right. But you can't just be like, fat, like that's just not going to.
Right. Girls can be like, what the?
Right. Yeah.
It's
all those neck beards in the DMs did not read the game.
Right. Oh, God. Oh, no. Don't encourage them to, Santiago. No. They're going to evolve and we won't be able to control it anymore.
No.
We won't be able to see the signs fast enough.
No, I mean...
no, they'll be the new form of alpha male.
Oh, no.
I just think of Curtis's
videos.
Right. The Curtis videos where he like talks about like those guys that do the
versus the beta or whatever.
Yeah. Or like the women's seminar made by men.
Yes. Oh, it's so bad. I'm like, wow, you're going to tell women
how to be
women. You're great.
Yeah. Yes.
But
good job.
The book was out in 2005, so it's like...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That'd be fascinating to see him, like, we need the game again or something.
I mean,
maybe. With, like, social media and everything on top of that, like, whoa.
But, like, Neil Strauss is an investigative journalist.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, yeah. So
I want to read that now.
He wasn't, like, trying to, like, here you go, douchebags. Here's how it works.
That's true, kind
Get laid all the time.
That's kind of true journalism, though, because in a way they're just proving him right. So he was a successful journalist because it's like he put it out there and then, hey, look, it's working.
Yeah.
So my journalism is true.
Yeah.
What I investigated proves accurate.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe someone else can, reinvestigate and how that has changed through like Tinder culture or whatever.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Yikes.
And I mean, there's other stuff that goes on.
Tinder culture is literally just hookup culture.
100%.
Depends.
I think of Mikey's video and how just like
they slide right into those DMs and I can't say that it's obviously there's probably an outlier case where someone found true love on Tinder and how dare you, but majority of it, it's just kind of built to be very shallow, superficial.
100%.
Unfortunately.
But can it be okay that humans just have sex consenting?
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't.
Right.
Personally don't, but
like,
I can't control that people are going to do that.
Yeah, but why tell these people that they're bad people? They're not.
I guess it's just sex. Okay. So it's based in my own personal belief that sex should be between people that care about each other.
Yeah,
because that's kind of what it. Like, yes, it's physical, but it's also like more than that. To me, other people would disagree.
Right.
So that's why I feel like Tinder hookup culture is disgusting.
Right. No, yeah,
because it's like okay, one night stand, see ya.
And I agree with you.
It's fulfilling a physical desire, but that's all. Like you don't care about the person.
I agree with you, but also that should still be okay for people to do.
I mean, I'll say that yes and no, but more so no, because I can't control that they're going to do it anyway.
They are going to do it anyway.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
It's also not
it's almost
inherently bad thing because, hey, look, that consent conversation.
I mean, just don't take advantage of people.
Yeah.
Is this still somehow like going back to relating like the teacher student thing?
I think that's just like
in general.
Okay. Humans have sex.
And then like, one night stand hookup culture in general.
Yeah.
Without like the age stuff involved, like this is like adults or whatever. Just to take that nuance off the table. But
yeah.
But
I will throw that nuance back on the table and say that like, okay, well, people do hook up that are like 15, 20 years apart. Time is not linear.
Yeah, but you can't convince me that it would be okay for that 10-year-old and 25-year-old to hook up.
No.
If time's not linear, they can't go back to that point and make that okay, because that's not okay.
Right, again, because time isn't linear. That frame of like 0 to 18 is way more compressed and is also like
protected.
Yeah.
In a way.
But also, again, the distance between a 20-year-old and a 40-year-old is that same distance, but it's not linear because it's not treated the same way.
Right.
Well, I think it boils down to like the mindset. So obviously the 0 to 18, kind of like what you and I were kind of saying while Santiago was in the bathroom, like, you're way different when you're 18 versus when you're like 25. Mm-hmm. Like we can definitely say that it's so different, like how we were.
You're developing still.
I still don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Same.
But
like when you had the like 20 to 40-year-old, it's like they've experienced stuff. They kind of have like a better mindset of everything.
They're further along at least. Yeah.
Right. So I think like as a society, it makes more sense. It's like, oh, well, they're both adults. They've gone through life. They're kind of past that like metamorphosis kind of
protected time of your kid.
Although
versus like kids where it's like you want to keep them as pure as possible because those years are kind of more delicate in a way. In a manner of speaking, like, yes, obviously both boys and girls, when, hormones start kicking in, it goes crazy. Everybody's rabid, but it's like, try and like tone it down and kind of explain it to them. Like, it's okay to kind of wait, or like, if it does happen, like make sure this or whatever. Or if it does happen with like an adult,
explain why that's problematic.
Yeah. Cause I can't help but think of like, in high school, there was this one teacher and he was a guy and like, yes, he was attractive, but like,
I saw him in some Facebook comments earlier today and I was like, is that the same? Oh, it is.
Really?
Yeah. He has a kid.
Oh,
he's single.
Oh, well, okay. I knew he had a kid. He actually.
So ladies,
shout out to that teacher.
Right. But also finish telling that story and see why.
Well, it kind of became the thing, like, he would kind of date like a senior girl and kind of switch out every year-ish thing.
No, what would happen is that the girls would graduate and then he would date them. And then once they broke up, then the next girl that graduated, he would date.
Yeah, because I knew the girl
So
from
the
my
story
class that he
goes.
dated.
Yikes.
Yeah. So he was kind of one of those teachers, and I also couldn't help but like, because you guys brought up like if the teacher is female and it's like a boy that hooks up with her, it's like
People be like, yeah, but yeah.
But if it's like a guy teacher and a girl, it's like double frowned
I'm
upon.
personally like, no, both are wrong.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I think. Because I think the mindset like of the student is still like, oh, I hooked up with this hot teacher. Like that could go for if you're a guy or a girl to whatever the opposite gender is of the teacher. It's just really interesting.
Right. Well, the thing is that for men, sex is power, whether or not they acknowledge it.
Women, it's like emotional
And
connection.
So in a way, like the ultimate goal for a teenage boy is to have sex with a hot teacher because it's like, I'm powerful and I'm a teenage boy and she has power over me as a teacher and I still got to have sex with her. So I'm the one with the power.
Yeah.
No teenage boy is that smart to
Right. They're just
word
like,
it in that way. They just feel that.
Yeah. Without knowing what that probably is. Yeah.
Right. But I don't know. I would think like in the same frame, like the female teacher, like there has to be something there too, though.
Well, like a lot of times, like it, we pin a lot of like, oh, sexual drive on men, but like women got it too. So
yeah,
they can be
just as bad.
be equally as like you know, predatory as like a guy can. And that's why I feel like it's unfortunate that what if a guy consensually or no, I'm trying to word this. He didn't like it, but he's being convinced he had to because you're a guy and you like sex, right?
Yeah.
You like being, whatever. But so then he grows up all thinking, oh, that's what it was. But no, he wasn't. He was taken advantage of and he should have. He should be okay to be be upset by that.
Right.
But like masculine, I guess that's toxic masculinity.
And
it
by,
makes him feel like he shouldn't.
Right. And by not being able to have those conversations with his friends, he doesn't. He's not able to process it correctly because then, like, because on face value, the conversation is always sex is rad. If you did it, it's great.
It becomes locker room talk.
Right. But then the thing is that, like, if you're not allowed to bring it past that, it's like, what? You didn't like sex. You must be gay. Being gay is bad.
Right. Right.
So.
And then that's a whole nother slew of problems, and it's unfortunate. It's like why don't you just let people be honest and open about their feelings and let them open them up to both sides of it? Like
because I would be gay and being gay is bad,
right?
Oh
so it's so sad. Like I'm not one to throw around the words like toxic masculinity, but it's very true.
Our
Marty
cat
just
tried to jump into the window.
Marty just
And
bit it.
she didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. The window's closed.
She's like, wait. Oh, is that why she slipped? Okay.
Yeah,
it's not a big enough ledge. That's why.
No, definitely not.
Oh no, that probably happens more often than we think.
a little bit.
She shoots for it.
Don't bite me. Hey, she mad.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I'll look at through, well, okay, objective, psychological, ethical. My internal gut's like, nah, fam. But yeah, I mean, those conversations are interesting to have, like the nuances. I mean,
Yeah. And also acknowledge that the real thing is happening. And people don't feel able to have that conversation. And that sucks.
yeah, especially with their parents. Like, that sucks.
Yeah. Or their best friend or whatever. Because when you're a teenage boy, your parents are the worst. Actually, something I was going to mention earlier, kind of touching back on that, like time isn't linear. I don't know if either of you have had this realization. But at one point, I realized that
I hit the mic.
it's fine.
Hello.
You hit the pop filter. It's
Oh, okay.
fine. At one point, I realized, like, wait, my parents are just people. And I had like,
Wah, 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 wah,
I'd
wah,
known
wah.
that before,
Right.
but then it like really like sunk in. And I was like, cause I knew that as a teenager, but as like a rebellious knowing it.
Right.
But like later as an adult, I realized it again as like oh no, like they're really just like the things and motivations that I have are the same ones
Well, it's because
that I have at 20 years younger than them. They still have those. They are still like, my dad is just me 20 years later. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Well, and I think in a way that young parents have that advantage, even if they're having their kid really young, in a way they're almost closer in age to their kid, to where maybe the kids can understand that a little bit more. Like it doesn't feel as far away as like, say, your parents being 30, 40-year-old difference or something. Because for me, like my parents are like about 30 years different from me. And so it's like a huge gap. But like I know people's parents that are like only 20 years or whatever because they had them really young. And so it's like not as big of a gap. And so you're almost able to like connect with them more, which that can also backfire because it's like, I'm your best friend. You don't want to do that as a parent, but you know, I've heard stories where, 16-year-old got pregnant, had a kid. Her kid's only 16 years
younger,
her junior, but like they're really close because she was still growing up as she was raising her kid. So it's like a totally different experience. So
right. And so I do kind of feel that like, oh yeah, but that 40-year-old has so much more. And it's like, no, I don't. Or it still just has like the same motivations. And
also just depends on what happened individually in their life.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's like they probably spent 10 years in their life just not making any progress.
Just doing the day-to-day.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, now here they are. They're just that 30-year-old 10 years later and nothing happened in that time. And like, yep, that's still the same person and they still have those same 30-year-old motivations and they still like whatever that might be. It's like everyone's just
I think arguably person. Like things can definitely alter you. Like say like trauma happens in your life, either like late in life, that can probably alter your path. Like you became a totally different person because of that or whatever else, good or bad.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, it's like, but I mean, there's lots of people whose like careers don't begin until way later,
right,
or something,
right. That's why what we were talking about earlier with the time. There's no timeline for anything because like J.K. Rowling started Harry Potter at 30. Like that's when it was published, right?
Right.
I'm not even 30 yet. What have I done?
Or
doesn't matter because I can do something great at 30.
The great actor who played Snape.
Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
He didn't start till like 40 something, right?
Yeah, and I think he even was wanting to be he was a graphic designer and he started late.
Yeah.
Which I'm like,
I mean, Disney, there's all those things where we see all these really successful people. It's like what matters, like what you do with the time you're given.
Yeah.
Right. Bryan Cranston as well.
I don't know this will relate to the past episode, like on privilege and stuff like that. But it makes me kind of think, because especially like right now where I am in life with everything, it is kind of really disheartening in a way. Like, so I'm turning 30 this year and I'm nowhere where I want to be with like my career, but yet I'll go on social media and I'll see these artists who are like definitely 5 to 10 years younger than me. They're already doing what I wanted to do. And I'm just like, well, what am I doing? It's like I'm happy for them, but it's also just like, where did I go wrong?
It's like easy to compare and contrast.
Oh, 100%. But like, yeah, it's like looking at Alan or looking at Rowling or any of them. It's like, we do have to realize like, yeah, everyone's timeline is different.
And a lot of times based on, I could kind of relate to privilege because like based on the privilege in their life, they may have been able to have the time given. Like if you don't have to worry about various things, or say you had the privilege to have a rich family so you didn't have to go to a college to get a degree, like you can stay at home and draw or stay at home and put all this time towards other things,
right? Or like kind of location too.
Yeah. I mean, if you're located where maybe there's more opportunities, or especially if you were born and raised there, like a lot of people repopulate to big cities to try and chase that, but if you were born and raised there, they really take advantage of that type of privilege. Like that's a privilege to be born and raised and pretty successful already in a big city where everyone's trying to desperately get into.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, I know like there are a lot of like really young artists, but I kind of like, you know, they were probably like, you know, we don't know their whole story because they're not going to put it out there. But honestly, majority of them are probably pretty well off because they've been able to really develop their craft. A lot of it, you know, could be natural talent, but it takes time to do that kind of thing.
Right.
So
I recently
time and resources.
Yeah.
I recently started listening to, or like listened to, Jacob Collier, and he is fairly young. And I'm going to try and talk as I'm looking Jacob Collier up. But he's fairly young, and he is this really talented, I won't say talented, skilled musician who basically he's 25 now. But he has like all of this wicked cool understanding of harmony and how like his musical skills are honed to a point that are like ridiculous even to someone who's like 40 now and has been doing music their whole life.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, why am I not Jacob Collier? Because like he and I are basically the same age. But also like both his parents are university music teachers, and he learned to play piano from his grandfather who like plays organ or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was in the exact environment to produce Jacob Collier
all his life since
and
day
so
he was
it's
born.
like, yeah, of course by the time that he was like 12 he was already able to like do these things and understand music theory and all this stuff and play piano and play guitar, blah blah blah. So then by the time that he's 18 he's already making all this cool stuff, and like to me I'm like, well geez, like how, like I wish I could get to that point. Why can't I be at that point? I was like, yeah, well he had the exact perfect environment to produce that.
None of us here had parents that love our parents, but none of them were artists.
Well, my mom was, but she never like actually taught me.
Not in the same way that you want to be. So you still kind of, we all had to each seek it out ourselves, which, and we've kept to it.
Yeah.
That's almost more admirable because it wasn't just handed to us or whatever.
Right.
Like my parents are very supportive, but it took them a while to get on the board. But once they were, they're like, yeah, we'll be supportive. But even if they helped me with things or whatever, I still had to like find it myself and like foster that talent myself because I started a little later than
and I'm sure you find yourself doing this, but like explaining to your parents that it's just not that simple.
Yeah, they know it now, but at first they didn't understand.
I'm still doing that with my parents now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, why don't you just make something like this? And it's like, because I don't have any background in that genre.
Yeah.
And I would be disrespectful to it if I tried.
Right. Well, and it's like, oh, I had a thought and I lost it.
Why don't you just make a music video? Like there's there's millions of dollars why I can't do that.
Yeah. And it's also like why I go back to another one of the Life Church sermons I stuck with me was like you'll just see people's highlight reel. Like you'll always see like the good things on social media, and so it's really easy to compare and contrast and be like, but like, I remember what I was gonna say. We all have a bunch of different interests, you know, like aside from our career driven ones, we're really into like cosplay and conventions and like skits. And that's not like a career driven thing, but it's something we're all really passionate about and we enjoy doing. And we still do it, even though maybe it does take away time from other things, which is like, you can address that being one of the reasons, but it's also like,
how
making
dare
memories.
You be a complex human being,
right? Like I talked, like a lot of times I'm like, oh, I could be further along, but then, you know, I'll have people be like, oh my gosh, like I just see all the stuff your guys' friends do. You guys do so much together and you're so tight knit. A lot of people don't have the friend group we do.
No.
They don't, they have their significant other and that's it. That's not bad. I'm not judging that, but that also gives them a lot of time to foster into the reason why we're just now binging things and watching stuff because there's a pandemic going on is because all of our plans were canceled. But otherwise, we chalk ourselves full of stuff to do every year.
Oh, 100%.
And so that might put other things on hold, but like we can still do that while also doing this while this is more temporary of a thing versus like a lifelong art, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I always remember that because like a lot of people will come up to me and they're like, they'll be like an amazing artist, but they're really lonely. And I'm just like, you know, I never thought about it that way, but that's a good way to put it. And that they really envy what we have as like all of our like group and stuff. So
right.
But it's also really appropriate to say that like now in this time when we're all stuck at home, it's like, hey, look, now is the time to work on yourself. Now is the time to do the thing that you were meaning to do.
Or relax.
Or don't.
Yeah.
Or,
It's like,
you
can do anything.
If you have been hustling and doing that whole thing the whole time and it's like, nope, wall in your face, no one can do anything for it. And it's like, all right, maybe take this time to just be a human instead of just be a living, breathing art machine.
Yeah. I've seen things where people are like, oh, you just need to create. You just need to get up every day and have the same routine. And I'm like, that's great. But like, okay, let's talk real humans here. What if we don't want to do that? What if, okay, I've been doing that all my life. What if I take like a month to just like watch things I want to watch or like sleep in or, you know.
And what they don't tell you is that all of your heroes have those times too.
They just don't broadcast it.
Yeah, it's like, what? You mean David Bowie isn't just a living, breathing, magical music machine? It's like, no, there was like some off years in that time where he like stayed on an island or something. I don't know. I don't know enough about David Bowie, but
I mean, that's a good example. It's like, I hate the one thing I hate about social media is like, you just got to hustle and grind every day and you'll get to where you want to be. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's true. But like, most of us aren't social media influencers that get brands sponsoring everything about your life to then you come over and tell me to hustle.
Sponsor this podcast.
yeah. Sponsor it if you can. But then they come out and they're like, you just got to hustle for what you want. And I'm like, not everyone. Okay, I'm going to put it out there. I have a very working theory that every social media influencer has hella privilege to begin with.
Yeah.
Because what kind of like,
we talk about this.
What kind of frivolous job is that? Like that you get to just explore and build up and work on. And it's not stable. So you have to have some sort of golden parachute, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not like judging them, but a little bit.
Yeah. Well, because I think about it, it's like, do they have a house that they have to worry about taking care of, or like, do they have a job that helps support them?
Their job is so flexible because it's social media. And so they can build their own, and yeah, they do have to work. I'm not saying it's not work, but to get to that point, they had to have a little bit of, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, it's like, I have to work all month and receive $1,000, which is it sucks. And then they're like, oh yeah, I just like mentioned Mercedes-Benz one time on a YouTube video and I got like, you know, $3,000 for that one mention.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, this video will pay for this trip. I'm like, what? Because it's just because you agreed to do this brand deal. Like, as much as I love certain YouTubers, sorry, I got taller. As much as I love certain YouTubers, I'm like, man, I wish I could glue rhinestones to my face and make 10 grand for it. Like, I love Jenna Marbles, adore her, but that's silly. Like, we have to call it for what it is. Like, I'm like, you know, like what Maddie's brought up. She works with people that punch her and call her bitch and like spit on her, and it's relatively decent pay, but not for what she goes through. And then so she'll come home and sit down to a YouTube video where they're like, you know, what is it? BetterHelp has sponsored this, and so I get to go on this trip to Bali, you know, something like that. And you're just like,
where did I go wrong?
Where did I go wrong? Can be very bad for you if you're like kind of in a rough place. Like,
money isn't real.
yeah.
Well, I mean, also, well, I can't really say it's like it's a generation thing. I think more so with like the TikTokers for sure. Like, it's definitely a younger crowd, but like YouTubers, like Jenna is definitely like one of the OGs.
YouTubers are like our generation.
Yeah.
Like influencer.
Yeah.
For sure. She's older than us,
Yeah.
I believe. She's like 31 or 32, right?
I think she's going on 33.
There's no way to find out.
No, there isn't.
I know she's
Google's
definitely in her
like-
30s.
Okay.
Since like she always brings up her age sometimes.
33.
33.
Hey, okay. So see, she's like
Same day as my birthday.
yeah, she's exactly 3 years older than you.
Yes.
So it's
Love it.
She's and you know she's really successful. So like our generation did start all of the social media influencer stuff. So in a way, I kind of understand why boomers are kind of like what, just like what, because they had to have jobs.
Yeah.
So
It starts trickling down, and I think that's what I brought up. It's like now I understand why like the boomer generation is like, oh, millennials, like get a real job.
now I'm like, oh, you stupid Gen Z, get a real job.
Yeah, 100%. It's like it's so annoying.
A lot of them are growing up wanting to be social media influencers, which is great, but I guess I'm also just like, I don't know where that's going.
Get a real job.
How much more influence can we get?
Yeah.
Get a real job like YouTube.
Yeah, right? It's like, oh, you're on TikTok? YouTube's where it's at.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's all just you're talking to yourself in a camera and putting it out there and people watching it. Yeah, it's
Hey, look, I have a
fascinating.
podcast.
Right? I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it curates great stuff like podcasts and YouTube in general. Like most of the content I absorb is on YouTube, so I can't really bash
Same.
it that much. It's just like
My shtick is pointing out the thing that I'm doing to make fun of it while also existing within it.
right. Yeah, I mean, people need to do that or else they're ridiculous. Who would have thought like 50 years ago we would have been recording conversations like this and putting them out there and people want to listen. You know what I mean?
Do people want to listen though?
They want to listen. People like
Let me show you my numbers though.
I know, but you just gotta hustle, Santiago, and every day it'll happen for you.
Hustle.
Sponsored by #ad.
The thing is the Octothorpe ad.
Octothorpe ad.
I still want that on a shirt.
Yeah.
The thing
Just
is,
spell
though,
it out.
is
Spell it out.
that this is my hustle. This thing that I'm doing right now is my hustle. I asked you to be on the podcast because the network of people,
Influential.
the network of people that I have and know that aren't at risk, is a lot smaller because of the thing. And so it's like I can't not put out a podcast on Thursday, and so
What do you mean?
this is
at
the
risk?
hustle.
He
Like-
can't have guests over as much
Right.
because of our pandemic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Like you're one of my best friends, and I know where you've been.
Right. Kind of like controlling who you're
Yeah,
in contact with. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I mean, we've like since all the pandemic began, we've all been interacting anyway. So it's kind of like keeping it within that circle of people
Right.
is safer than.
Well,
Yeah.
and we do have a nurse in our group, but like
I mean,
she
I-
always goes the extra mile to make sure everyone's okay.
I'm still making sure she's not going to be like stripped naked in the patio in the porch, and Ron's across the street's just like there because he'll sometimes just like hang out in his door in the morning.
He does.
She'll change in before she even gets inside and puts her clothes in a bag. But it's just that makes sense. Like a lot of this pandemic is affecting so many things in ways I never even thought. Like down to like obviously shows and movies and things getting delayed or canceled or postponed. Like
Which is nuts.
every day, it's like new ways that this is affecting people.
yeah,
And it's only been 4 months.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying that like, well, once again, my shtick is pointing out the thing as I'm doing it, so that there's no like level of secrecy about it.
Or superiority. in a
Yeah,
way.
or anything. I'm not hiding anything from you.
Yeah.
This is this is the hustle.
Yeah.
I can't not put out a podcast every week.
Right.
So this is what I'm doing.
Right.
And hey, look, we got 2 podcasts out of it.
Are you sure you can't get like more out of this? How long have we been recording? Sun went down. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I mean, unless you want to keep going, but it's also 9:30 right now, so we should like
Oh, dang. is
eat.
it really?
I know. Now I'm kind of like, should we just order B-dubs?
We'll see.
Ooh.
It ain't Thursday though.
This podcast sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Please.
Please.
I want wangs.
Give me wedge fries.
I don't gotta go to work tomorrow, so
Hey, welcome to the club.
I do.
rip. You actually still go in?
No.
Oh, okay. But you have to like
Clock in.
Yes.
down here. Yeah.
I clock in at 9 a.m. And I get to, hey, look, check your privilege. I am enjoying my job. So like it's nice because I get to dig deep on like,
Because you're transcribing.
I'm transcribing master classes for ACM. Hi, ACM. I graduated from there.
You can say your job. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. No. But like, yeah, that's a weird thing because everyone at ACM is like on that grind as well. I guess
They're like, yeah, man.
we know. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, working from home wasn't bad. It was just like every day it was bad news.
Yeah.
It only lasted for 2 weeks for me. So it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Was that worth it?
Right. But I'm taking my privilege and saying that like I get to transcribe a conversation with Roger Daltrey.
Yeah.
Who was the lead singer of The Who, in case you didn't know who that is.
That's pretty cool.
And
Very
I get
British.
to try and decipher his British accent
Fun.
from camera audio, which is
Oh,
very
no.
bad quality. So, but I mean, like, sure,
put
from the
on
audio
subtitles?
perspective, it's like, that sounds hard. But also, I get to listen to a conversation with Roger Daltrey and go into, like, the nitpicky details about it. And if a word is wrong, I get to, like,
That's where it
dig
gets
in
like,
and like learn the like, oh, this is where like I had to search through a bunch of the Who singles because I couldn't understand what Scott said when he was referencing a song, and I had to like look through all of them, and I'm like, wow, the Who sure is significant.
Oh my God, get my dad on the podcast.
Yeah.
He would talk to you all about that. He would be a good member to have on the podcast.
Heck yeah.
BTW.
Yeah, okay, well, no, that actually
If you
would
ever
be
want that in the future,
Yeah, cool.
that's a good idea.
On that hustle. This is how
Especially
the sausage is made
Interrupting.
literally right now.
Especially if it's like all about like coronavirus response stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to do any sort of theme around that, he could be very good to talk to.
Totally.
Your dad always just has a lot to talk about, and I
He
love
does.
that.
Yeah, he's a very talkative man.
I could do that. I
He's
might
very
try that.
knowledgeable.
He's very knowledgeable. He just like knows stuff, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, dad, wow.
You heard it here first, folks.
My dad's smart. Shout out to Michael Murphy.
Oh,
But, yeah.
Oh,
Dad.
dad.
Right. But there's other people that I've like been wanting to have on the podcast, but it's like I can't get them on the podcast because I don't know where they've been, or like like my friend has a daughter, and so it's like or like another friend who I haven't asked yet, but it's like that's fine. He's a photographer, and so it's like I don't know if he's still working or not.
anyway.
So it's like that's a.
I mean, I would be like, well, Ethan, but because they're extremely isolated in their job, but he can't. He probably won't feel
There's
comfortable
not
talking.
enough words coming
Unless
from
it's-
that man.
I know.
To fill
It
even
sucks, though,
30
'cause
minutes of
he's
the show.
like that with me, but he's not like that with like anyone else. So maybe it'd be like I'd have to be there, and we could like it could be like
Yeah, that's fine. We
you
can
know
try it.
I don't know. So
Three-way vibe conversation.
he'll just be breathing into the mic, terrified. I mean, it'll be like
Ethan says a lot with his size.
I know.
He does.
That's one thing I love about him. Like I made him dinner last night because he came to mow our lawn, but he wouldn't let me pay him, and so I was like, I'm just make him dinner. And so I made calzones.
I saw
and it
your
turned out
story.
really good. But at his first bite, he was just like. So it's like I could tell. I was like, "Yeah, you love it," and he was like, "Yeah, it's really good. You're awesome." I'm like,
Ethan
"Thanks."
speak in size.
He speaks in size. So I mean, you could have a whole podcast full of his size.
Right, yeah.
Oh my
All right.
God.
Now we've
be
devolved
weird.
into meta podcasting, so I will close this one out.
No.
Oh,
I mean, any final thoughts that you guys have before we like? 'Cause we should
no.
eat something.
Yeah, we're gonna get food.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
what?
Well, I was gonna talk about that show. I had another show I'd finished binging, but that might be too long of a. I might bring it up, and then it's like a whole nother hour.
Yeah.
What
Maybe a
show
different day.
though?
It's called You. on Netflix.
It's also a good Radiohead song.
Yeah, it's just called You. It's very good. But we'll end it there.
Yeah. We like barely even talked about anime. How neat.
That's fine. I mean, I've watched two anime movies this year, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then a couple episodes here and there of other stuff, but I need to seriously sit down and watch things because
which movies again were you saying that Santiago and I need to watch?
Makoto Shinkai movies.
Okay.
They're he's like a director, and so he has a few. Your Name, Weathering with You, phenomenal. And then 5 centimeters per second, Garden of Words. And I think that's it. There may be some more I'm forgetting, but his movies, if anything, they're so visually stunning. It's stupid. Like, this guy's crazy, but like they're actually really well done movies and stories, I feel like. So they're really good.
Good. Do it. Get some stuff in your brain that isn't from a fat American man.
Yay! Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's a whole nother story we could have about the very overworked Japanese anime society, but by watching their shows is supporting them. So help them. Yes. Rip. But I mean, they're getting a break right now, at least. So
bliss.
Stuff's very delayed.
Actually, I was meaning to like correct something that I misstated in the Privilege podcast that I did with Sable. Is that like apparently coronavirus hasn't really hit Japan yet. So yeah, that was something that Phil was talking about.
Either that or it's like they weren't sure about their numbers because they were kind of hiding it for the Olympics. Because now
I think I remember you telling me about that.
Because they didn't want more cases to pop up because it would affect the Olympics, but now that doesn't matter because the Olympics got canceled.
But it hasn't really hit Japan yet.
They're also already a mask wearing, very private society, and that's really showing a difference in places. Yeah. So
did they? I'm under a rock. Are they moving the Olympics to next year?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
sports trash next year.
We can do sports trash next year. Everything's on hold this year.
Heck yeah.
Everything's canceled. But like,
knock on wood, but Magical Girl Con.
We're not gonna do 2. No.
What?
Yeah, we're gonna do 4 skits, Santiago. Okay, we're gonna do 4 skits. No.
Dear God.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah, Tokyo just now, I think today issued a shelter in place until like May 6th, if I'm correct. So.
Dang.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, sorry, jumping off of your myth.
But what we'll probably notice is what I mentioned in the Privilege podcast is that like since Japan's culture is so homogenous, they'd probably be more sticklers about like, hey, are you going outside? Don't do that. You are bad human.
Well, they just wear masks anyway. Like if before all of this, if you're sick in the slightest and you go out and you're coughing in public without a mask on, you get like basically policed by the citizens. I mean, they really filter it out. Like, it's pretty impressive. So that's showing a difference. And then here we got idiots in Idaho who were like, no, that's against my liberty to keep me from going to church on Easter Sunday.
But she's covered by Jesus' blood.
Corona Karen.
I mean, like, God made science.
Did you see that one?
That's not how that works. Science doesn't. No, okay. Anyways,
do you have anything else to add before we close it out?
I don't think so.
We covered so much. I'm like, I hope people are following.
That's fine. I know we just kind of like went on a rampage of just like word vomit.
That's exactly what I want. No, that is exactly what I want.
If you ever get tired of the name Bit Depth, you can just call it word vomit.
That might already be a podcast.
It probably is. Yeah.
All right, so let's go this way then. Megan, plug your stuff. What do you got going on? I mean, nothing, but like
nothing, right? I guess I'm trying to do art more. So if you want to follow me or anything,
get on that grind.
Get on the hustle. It's @_Megstetic, which is MEGSTHETIC, like aesthetic, but like Meg. Yes. Because I took it from that person who wanted it. They had to take their.
You hustled out. Before they did. I
hustled before they hustled. That's basically it. So
yeah, check that out. Megan does good art.
I do art sometimes.
So does social media. My wife.
Oh my gosh.
My wife.
You can always find my stuff at sableann.com. That is my website where you can find my online portfolio of graphic design, illustrations, all that fun stuff. I'm mainly on Instagram at sableann_creations. I like hesitated on that for a second.
I got you.
Creations. Well, I thought illustrations. I was like, wait.
Those are also there.
It's okay. I forgot how to spell mine, so it's fine.
I'm going to start promoting this a lot more now because I need to anyway. Also, on my website, there's a link. You can buy my first children's book.
Buy our book. It's cute.
We're all stuck inside. Give your kids something new to read. Please buy it.
It's cute.
It's called Susie Blue.
I love her.
Cute
Sable is also my wife. Sorry, Santiago.
Ethan. I thought you were talking crap about polyamorous people.
Polygamous for sure is a cult.
Or polygamy, sure.
Polygamy. Yeah, you said polyamorous.
Yeah, that's fine. Polyamorous people are fine.
I have 7 soulmates and they're all my friends.
Neat.
We're all gay for each
Tied it
other.
back. Neat.
Yes. We're all in a giant harem.
We're all in, yeah.
What was I gonna plug? Oh yeah, that's what I was
Plug
gonna
your stuff.
Plug your giant harem.
Right. Well, sure. Okay, I'll plug the giant harem, which is at solstice_cosplay on Instagram.
That is a good question.
There's no way to find out.
Solstice cosplay is our harem name.
Yes. I'm like, I don't run it. That's a Maddie thing.
So
I am an admin on the Facebook page.
At solstice_cut. Oh my god. Cut. At solstice cosplay, which is solstice_cosplay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This is why I do the drawing and the arts. I don't talk for a living because I'm bad at it.
Don't worry, I don't talk for a living either because this doesn't make any money.
Hashtag
that's
sponsor
okay.
us.
Money isn't real. But the other thing that I'll plug, which did actually make me a little bit of money, but it was just because I was like, sure, if you want to give me money. My friend Jimmy Jackson and his wife Kaylee Jackson just started a podcast called it's about them playing video games together and talking about them. Yeah, it's super cute. And it's called Date Bit. So D, the number 8 bit.
Date bit.
Yeah.
Cute.
And I did their podcast theme, intro music, whatever.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah. So check that out. I mean, if you want to just hear the theme that I did, you can check it out for that, but then stick around for the rest of the 20
For the
minutes
content.
for listening to them talk about video games and such.
Yes.
So, but they just started it. It might be like every other week or something, but like, yeah, I'm really excited for them because like it's fun and I'll probably be on it. Sable will probably be on it at some point.
They good people.
So yeah, because one of the 3 things that make up my identity are video games. So
yeah,
check that out.
Oh, we did finish Untitled Goose Game.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is it good?
It's fun.
Yeah, it was super cute.
Oh, let me play it.
It's short
too, right?
Yeah, it's like
And it got Game of the Year, right?
Didn't it?
Some people.
That's what
gave
I
it Game of the
thought.
Year.
Oh, I thought it got Game of the Year.
No,
When people were
I
like,
can't
"What?"
remember because like the Game Awards, I don't think gave.
Oh, maybe it's I don't remember.
Yeah.
Don't hold me to
IGN
that.
gave it to Control last year, which I still want to play. Hopefully
I
that'll
wanna-
get a Game Pass soon.
Is Untitled Goose Game on Switch?
Yes.
Ooh,
Get it?
I need to.
It's fun.
I need to play everything.
Yeah, super cute. But yeah, so speaking of people talking about, or speaking of married couples talking about playing video games together. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Now my actual plugs. So,
Plug your things.
yeah. But first, I'm Santiago Ramones.
I'm Megan Murphy.
I'm Sable.
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music. You can find all of that stuff on my website, santiagoramones.com/music. And you'll find my singer-songwriter-y stuff. You'll find my electronic composer-y stuff on my SoundCloud. And if you just do like /machinations, that'll be my graduate composition recital, which shows you what I'm capable of, but is also the thing that I worked really hard on. And I hope people watch it and listen to it and such.
Very good.
Thank you. And then I also do stuff with Power Cycle, and Power Cycle makes experimental electronic music. We're trying a thing where we collaborate remotely. And so I did a live stream. You can watch that. And so the thing is, for 30 minutes, we will sort of improvise on top of a thing. So what I did for the first 30 minutes is I just made something from scratch, improvised. And so I did a drum groove and a bass line. And then that's going to go to Jonathan, and he's going to do 30 minutes on top of that and add what he can to it. And then that's going to go to Breck, and he's going to add that in 30 minutes. And then we're going to do another cycle of that. A power cycle of that. Hey. Okay. So yeah, be on the lookout for that at Power Cycle Music on all the things. We also have an album that is on Spotify. It is called Too Many Damn Cables. And I was in my podcast with my 3 things. High words, I can do them. I always end my podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are: love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.
Bye!